Lost Colony teases at corrupted survivors. Helicoprion introduces oversports, and community voted ARK Dino TLC to replace the usual annual Extra Life charity stream. You're right, kids, it's Raasclark, and welcome to your regular ARK community news. Before we begin, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, share around, and let's get into it. Because in Community Crunch 473, we got a brand new teaser, another look at Lost Colony and what to expect, with a few things to unpack from the image received. With the devs explaining, beneath the frozen wastes of Arat Prime, the true cost of element becomes impossible to ignore. Figures stalk their city, their wills bent, and their bodies reshaped into living weapons. That some things are worse than extinction, and not everything that walks still breathes. With that last sentence, me still believing vampires are very much on the menu with this, perhaps only with our main antagonist or protagonist turned antagonist, if any of the leaks are to go by. It does suggest that Mei Yin could possibly be the final boss of the map, but you'd be forgiven in initially thinking, hang on a minute, it's now zombies, what's going on? All I can see are zombies or some Doom-like variants, or may I even suggest Moonlight Man Mob lookalikes. But it's all very on theme, with a certain villain nodding to, of course, Aberration with the purple hues, corrupted survivors looking not too different than the ones you find in Genesis Part 2, and a Bubbaloo zit-popping Rex that again doesn't look too different from the experimental Rex in Genesis Part 2 as well. If you're not too familiar with the lore, this all of course points to Rockwell, who crash-landed onto Extinction at the end of the map's completion, apparently crash-landing right next to Arat Prime, so specifically before we even got there. And if the original Lost Colony trailer is anything to go by, it does appear there's going to be some sort of Rockwell-based faction to encounter, and well, it all adds up together, right? Though worth noting, these do seem a bit different to what we encounter in the events of Genesis Part 2, perhaps Rockwell's second stage of experiments, because Aberration was his first experiments. And looks like we'll be encountering all shapes and sizes of different corrupted survivors, whom I'm going to have to guess were originally now the Lost Colonists, or maybe even genome grown, considering this giant tank there at the back. Either way, the question for me now is, are we going to be encountering these corrupted survivors out in the wild during a map playthrough, or is this actually the perhaps final boss arena, just like the Genesis Part 2 where you encountered the corrupted survivors there? Is that going to be the case again with Lost Colony? And it does seem there's going to be some absolute monsters to face. You can just about depict right there in the background, very obscurely behind the head of the Rex, what seems to be a giant, massive, dirty experimental deathworm. Is that what I'm seeing there? If so, that looks huge, because look at it towering over the city of Arat Prime. What the hell? Kill that thing with fire immediately. As well as seemingly a variant of the Valwinds, which we were teased at when we originally got these, when we pre-ordered the expansion pass for Lost Colony, that they would evolve into something. Is this the evolution form of this, or a variant? I don't know, because when you hear evolution, you think it's going to get bigger and mightier. Maybe it wouldn't. Maybe it's just going to get some purpley glowy eyes instead, and hopefully get some new abilities on top. Who knows? There does still remain the question on what exactly does survival mean with this next map, not forgetting that co-founder Jeremy did say that they were looking to reinvent survival with this map in an environment that hunts you. With me originally theorizing we'd be running into vampires on the regular, but maybe possibly they're going to save this for the finale instead, and these corrupted survivors will be your regular encounter, as well as Bubbaloo Rex. Either way, it's still on track. December the 16th, it's coming out, the first story map in 5 years. It's been a long time since we've had anything new canon to the world of ARK in gameplay story, and I'm excited to see how the gap will be explained, the link between Extinction to Gen 1, what happens between the two, and of course the lore between all the survivors that we followed in the footsteps of. So Extra Life 2025, there's a bit of bad news with this, with perhaps a bit of good news on top, depending on which way you look at this. Let's get the bad one out the way. There will be no Extra Life charity stream, as they always done, and they always have done every year up until this year, when we've all annually seen a 24-hour live stream revealing a bunch of stuff upcoming to the world of ARK, a bunch of interviews on top, and we got invited to it last year, which was the most amazing thing ever. Maybe we somehow stinted a bit of an issue there, I don't know, hopefully not. And during the course of this, rates go up to insane numbers during the event as the tally gets ticked up for you to take advantage of on official servers. But this year, it's just not happening, owed to production on Valguero and Lost Colony, with the devs explaining that this year their team is heads down finishing these two maps, and they simply just don't have the time this year around. But they've got something in compensation if you're looking for those rates, and I've got to say, I think even are better than the rates you get during Extra Life, because they're going to be bringing back the anniversary cakes we saw earlier in the year. So that's the taming, breeding, imprinting, experience and harvesting cakes, which when you start farming en masse can see even a Karkar or Giga raised to 100% within the matter of 1 hour, which is of course way better than the rates you'd get on Extra Life. And with that event running from October the 31st until November the 10th, there's going to be plenty of time to start stockpiling those cakes once again. The big miss, of course, at least for me, is the reveals. I love this being that one thing every year where we get to see exactly what's up and coming for the year ahead. And I guess, well, what's been offered in compensation is kind of still yet doing the same, because this time around, every 30,000 raised contributed towards the Studio Wildcard Extra Life charity campaign will unlock a Dino TLC pass, with you required to include the full name of the creature you'd like to receive some love when you donate. And I'm not too sure whether it's limited to the original classic creatures, because that's Wildcard's words, classic creatures, but of course those are the creatures you'd like to see TLC because those are the old ones, right? And there's going to be a limit of up to 4 creatures if they hit 120,000 raised, all 4 of which will be delivered throughout 2026. With this, in fact, kicking off next week and then starting straight after game day, which is, I think it's the end of October, they'll be revealing one winner each week throughout November. Seeing some debate from some people saying, flipping heck, we got to pay money for these Dino TLCs, what the hell? I'm guessing Studio Wildcard are interested themselves to see how this one goes instead of their usual annual charity livestream, because this is a very popular thing that the community want to see. TLC is a thing we all are quite outspoken about upon year, looking to revitalize creatures that have been in ARK for 10 years that desperately need some remodeling and some abilities improving to rebalance them against the creatures that have been added to ARK later on. And there's a good few dozen out there I know the community would love to see given some TLC. But it's a wonder, will it be directed at creatures that you're still using or directed at creatures that you don't use at all? No doubt there's some really old creatures with really fugly models that desperately need some work, of which we community voted some 4 years ago, which I think we need to probably readdress now considering the highlight of this topic. But with a donation scheme on top, could it be whoever's got the most money is going to get a guaranteed TLC? Possibly. Mr. Richman out there that wants to see some TLC given to their very favourite creature that they specifically love could, well, possibly do that, possibly change that if they've got a spare 30 grand in the bank. So I'm interested to see how this one really plays out. Nevertheless, TLC is something I'm sure I whinge about month after month after month, and to get some opportunity to see a change to a lot of these models, considering all of the mod TLCs we've seen over the past of a point of reference, I'm fully on board with. Not to go into this too much and feel like I'm trying to influence any ideas here, I really think we should do our own little poll ourselves. Why not? There's one in particular I think could do with a bit of a facelift to be just a little bit bigger than it usually is, right? The Megalodon, because, well, I'm just basically segueing to Megalodons are everywhere. With the arrival of the Helicoprion, it seems the patch that was exclusive to RAG has now spread to every single map on ARK, and whether you're playing it anywhere, you're going to see a boatload of sharks absolutely littering the sea at the moment. Wildcard dropped a patch to, of course, bring in the Helicoprion, which we had a quick look at from a taming and abilities perspective. Something we're going to do a more deep dive on in the near future, as well as a few patches to the Armored Doggo, a few map fixes to Raasclark and the Labyrinth Puzzle Cave, as well as a few stuttering, snapping and crash exploit fixes. Wildcard quickly realised this mistake due to the volume of reports surrounding the volume of sharks, and are aware of it and going to be making some headway on the issue soon, but not yet. So until then, brave the waters if you dare. And let it be known that despite Wildcard not having their own 24-hour charity livestream, me and Aaron Longstaff will definitely be getting back together to do some wacky challenges once again. Try and raise the stakes this one, considering there's going to be no wildcard event. Maybe we could even try and get wildcard involved themselves for an error or two. That would be great, wouldn't it? And I'd love to hear your thoughts on what you'd love to see us try and dare and challenge and punish ourselves with this year around. So drop a comment below. Let me know. Leaving us with a spot of casino gambling, though gotta say this looks really awesome, but skirting around the issue that Wildcard had quite recently, having to remove the poker table. I know a lot of you out there have made comments about this, but I gotta say the mod looks really cool. I want to check this out. As well as some great cosmetics shown off this week. I really love to see these showcases. Please do keep this up from the depths. And a tiny paranoid afterthought wonder, was this year being the Aquatica year owed to Wildcard not doing a charity livestream this year because of the volume of Aquatica replies that they probably have to respond to? I don't know. Just throwing that out there. I feel like there's been a bit of a image rehabilitation program that Wildcard needs to go through to get people to realise what is ARK, who is ARK, why is ARK, and maybe Lost Colony could be the moment to bring everything back on the same plate. What do you think? Until the next one, my name's Raasclark. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And as always, peace out.